Welcome to the second session of our Empire of the Hyena D&D 5th edition game. In the last session, our heroes travelled at the behest of one of the local daimyos, blood clan members, to the small village of Kushino, which they'd lost all communication with. Upon arriving there, they found themselves assaulted by the reanimated remains of various villagers. This eventually led them to a desecrated ancestral shrine, once home to the armour and the ancestral blade of Kida Raku, a great warrior of the clan. Their trespassing in the shrine led to Raku appearing in spectral form and challenging them to combat. Eventually they discerned that the ancestral spirit had been aroused because of the theft of its blade, and they were able to make an agreement with the spirit of Kida Raku that they would retrieve the blade and return it here. So when we left them, they'd just managed to follow some tracks left by the robbers, and they were heading off in a northeasterly direction, attempting to follow these faded tracks. So before we go any further, I'm going to ask each of the players to introduce themselves and say a little about their character. So first of all, we will go with Johannes.
Oh, hello, I'm Johannes, and I'm playing Sand in Eyes. He's a member of a now disbanded Temple of Shadow Warriors, a disgraceful profession that nonetheless existed previously, at least, in the honor-bound empire that we all exist in. And so he now wanders the lands of the empire with his not really quite a friend, but a traveling companion, Yagur, the horrendous bloodthirsty berserker.
Okay, thank you very much. And next we move on to Ambrose.
Hello, I'm Ambrose, and I'm playing Yif Ogami, a bounty hunter who fights with a bow staff and unusual psionic abilities.
Okay, thank you very much. And last but by no means least, it's Matthew.
Indeed it is, and I am playing Kovac Ashnard, a half-orc fighter who has recently been allowed out from incarceration for past transgressions and is hoping to reclaim his honour, and possibly more.
Okay, so as I've discussed, unfortunately we're down a player this evening, so we're not going to have Yagor with us. But to say coming up with any ridiculous reason why he's not here, we're just going to fade him into the background, and we're not going to worry about that. It's not the most realistic way of handling it, but it saves me having to come up with a convoluted reason to take him out of the game and bring him back in. So we pick up where we left off last time, with you all following these faint tracks. As you're following them to the northeast, you've made camp at least once. You've travelled for at least a day, so you'll have all healed any hit points, etc. As you crest a hill heading into a slightly more mountainous region, up ahead you see what appears to be columns of black smoke rising from the other side of the hills, drifting lazily up into the air. Over to
I would be smelling the air. Is there any specific scent going about? Like, is it burning wood or burning flesh?
It smells like a combination of burning grass, wood, and perhaps paper. You're not sure.
Are we downwind to this?
You're not downwind of it. That's why the scent is only faint in the air. You can't see what's causing it, but you can see a number of these different plumes of smoke rising into the air. It's thick black smoke, so it's obviously from something burning. But until you crest this sort of rise of fairly substantial hills, you can't see exactly what the cause is.
Yeah. I'll sort of roll my shoulders as I'm kind of flexing my lance, my glaive even, kind of reflexively looking around. We could be in more bandits around. Be on your guard. I know you know how to handle yourselves.
Have we been? Did we find a trail of some sort, or are we like going across open ground?
Indeed, you're sort of skirting the edge of a small copse of trees and heading towards this range of hillocks. Although the trail has been faint, you've somehow managed to keep following it, and it appears to lead directly in the direction over the rise of the hill towards where the smoke is coming from.
Right. Okay. So, companions, we should stay down low and probably veer off to where we aren't just walking straight in towards these, whatever they may be. So let's steer to the left, keep down, see what we can find.
What time of day is it at the moment, John?
It's early morning.
Early morning, right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would like crouch, run towards the thing, like not approaching it directly, but like from the side a bit.
Okay, that's fine. Are you trying to be particularly stealthy, or?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly what I'm going for.
In which case, make me a stealth roll.
It's a 10.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. You run to the crest of the hill. Looking over it, you can see further trees on the other side of the hill. And as the trees fade away, you see a small area of grassland sheltered in almost like a small sort of valley inside this range of hills, surrounded on all sides by small copses of trees. What appears to be a very small village. As you look at it, you can see no more than half a dozen houses. However, you do notice that it appears to have an extremely grand-looking temple. The rest of the village appears to have been built up around it. You can see that from 4 of the buildings rises thick black smoke. They appear to be on fire. You can see villagers running about trying to put the fires out. There appears to be a large pond nearby, which the villagers are getting buckets of water from. And in fact, I'm going to move you all onto the map, so hopefully you should be able to see a map of this village.
Yep.
Okay, I've put your counters roughly sort of like in the direction you'd be coming from, effectively. As you're looking at the town, as I said, you can see there's a small pond. You can also see there appears to be a well-maintained pathway leading up to this temple, and what looks to be an ornate wooden gate with a small bridge heading over what appears to be a man-made, or knoll-made, I suppose I should say, channel dug from this small pond, no doubt for irrigation purposes.
So, so we've followed the tracks leading away from the site of the stolen sword, and we've ended up here.
Indeed.
Based on like our knowledge of the region and the towns, do we know what this place is called, or?
Okay, any of you who wish can make me a history roll to see what you know about this place. Okay, Sandin Eyes, you know that this is the temple town of Rasong. It's one, like a lot of places in the Empire, because the worship of the small gods is so prevalent and respecting the spirit of one's ancestors is so important. There are a lot of roadside shrines which, if they're visited a lot, grow up into temples. Obviously the people who attend the temples need feeding, and small villages tend to grow up around them. In fact, as you're looking across, you can actually see next to the well-maintained path heading up towards the temple, there is what appears to be a number of small statue shrines. You can just about make out what you think are possibly the remnants of candles sort of placed around them as offerings, etc. So it's not unusual to find towns and small villages that have grown up around temples.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we probably huddle and like observe and share our observations a bit from the hill.
So
would mention that this
they're
is
trying
probably
to put
the town
out
of
fires, right?
Indeed, there are peasants running around trying to put out fires. As you watch, though, you can see what appears to be a young female gnoll wearing red armour, who appears to be sort of like ordering the peasants about, telling them where to take the water, and they generally supervising the attempts to stop the fire.
Okay, I'm gonna go approach that gnoll.
Okay, feel free to move yourself towards her on the map. Obviously, we're not in combat rounds or anything like that.
Yeah.
And how do you approach? Do you just like walk out and like, hey?
Yeah, essentially. So basically, I just like walk out and just say, "Greetings, I'm a wandering traveller." And I look around at the fire, and then I say, "Is there anything I can do to help?"
As you step out, you see the Gnoll warrior. A hand moves to an incredibly ornate sword hanging at her side. But then when you respond friendly and ask if there's anything you can do to help, she moves her hands away from it and says, yes, if you can, our town has been attacked. We're doing our best to put out the flames. Thank goodness they didn't damage too much. Unfortunately, I was out getting supplies and wasn't here to be able to help protect the town.
Mm-hmm. From who?
She looks at you and says, well, I'm not sure if you're entirely going to believe me about this, but Oni, corrupted spirits.
I've seen Stranger Things, and then I sort of, you can't really sit and have a chat while you're in a town that's burning to the ground.
Indeed, I'm assuming this conversation is going on whilst you're like carrying buckets, etc.
Yeah, so yeah, I sort of have to break off from this and like focus more on like contributing to this bucket chain.
Okay, no problem. So while Yith is doing that, what is Sandin Eyes and Kovac doing?
So there is no like visible sign of people being alarmed about the cause of these fires. They're actually like focusing on putting them out.
At the minute, everyone's primary concern seems to be putting the fires out.
Right.
You can see a mix of peasants. They're mostly gnolls and a few half-orcs dressed in fairly simple cloth clothing, running about, forming chains, as Yith said, leading to this pond, getting water out into obviously old, like quite leaky buckets and trying to get them to where the fires are and throw the water on them before all the water spills out of the buckets.
Mm-hmm. How does it look like? Are they getting the situation under control, or?
They gradually seem to be bringing it under control, yes.
Yeah, okay. In that case, I would leave that up to them and head towards the temple, the big one.
Okay, not a problem. You head up to the temple. You can see it's actually two buildings with a small palisade built around it. There's a ramp that leads up to the first smaller building, which you would know from your familiarity with monasteries, etc., that the first building is where you leave your material possessions, your cares of the material world, before moving up the ramp into the second building, which is the shrine proper. And having shed all of your material possessions and your cares, you're then ready to make your prayers, your offerings to the spirits that dwell within, without risk of corrupting them with the base material world.
Yeah. Is it open? First question.
You can see the doors are open. There doesn't appear to be anyone near it. You think pretty much everyone in the village is probably out dealing with the fire. In fact, if you look around, you can see a few people moving around who are wearing sort of monastic style robes, not quite as fine as the ones you were used to back when your own monastery was running, but sort of simple sort of country priests effectively, but they're pitching in with everyone else and just trying to help get these fires under control.
I want to take a look around the temple, basically sneak around, look into places, under places, and figure out if they're storing any sort of relics here, and if those relics that they might be storing here are, for example, belonging to the spirit of the samurai that we saw.
Okay, make me a perception roll. Okay, you have a look around. It seems to be a fairly simple temple. Despite its size, the construction is fairly crude. There's no sort of great riches in here. In fact, unless you're planning on like stealing a lot of candles and like joss sticks, there's probably not a tremendous amount in here that's going to interest you. However, are you making your way into like the main shrine as well? Or?
Yeah, I was gonna, unless like someone comes in or otherwise I'm impeded. I want to take a look around the whole place, both buildings.
Okay, so as you move on, you move up the ramp out of the first building into the main shrine. You can see that it's pretty much featureless in here. There is a bowl of clear water, perhaps taken from the pond, seated in the centre of the chamber. Around the edges of the room are mats, no doubt for worshippers to kneel on, and there are a number of candles which have been sort of snuffed out, presumably before they left, placed around, and there are candles placed around a small statue. Now, since you are the first person in here, I'm going to ask you to help me define this. This is obviously a temple to one of the small gods. Which of the small gods and what do they represent is worshipped here? And is there a statue to them? How is their appearance represented in this temple?
I think it's the small god here is like a god or a spirit of the hearth. So there's a small fire, a modest fire, that they keep going there forever. Like they're supposed to keep this sacred fire going all the time. It's not the flame of creation cult stuff that we established is sort of like the main religion. This is sort of like the country style, like home spirit. And this is a particularly important home spirit.
Okay, splendid. So as you're searching around, you do see this modest fire, which is in a sort of metal bowl that's raised up from the floor, and it's burning away. You also see next to it is what appears to be a small clay pot, and it has a crystalline white powder in it.
I'll take a sniff, cautious sniff.
Okay, you take a sniff in it. It's got a sort of like rocky, sort of like minerally like smell to it, almost like if you get like rock salt or something similar.
Mm-hmm. I'll take a pinch and toss it into the fire.
Okay, as you throw it into the fire, there's a brief as the fire sort of flares up a bit, and as it does so, you notice that for a few seconds the flame actually changes colour to white.
Yeah, I'll nod at the fire, and since nothing really like stands out to me as a place to keep your like stolen samurai relics, after my exploration, I'll start making my way back out before I'm caught, so to speak.
Okay, no problems. So while that's going on, Kovac, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so what I've been doing during this time is I've sort of been circling the village, not really engaging in the townsfolk at the moment. I'm more trying to get an idea of what kind of attack this was. If it was just bandits, which is likely, or was this more of a disciplined force? Looking at the type of weapons that were used, if there's any left over, the damage that was done, that kind of thing. If it was.
Okay, can you make me? You can either use survival or perception for this.
Okay, let's have a look. See, I'm going to use survival.
Oh, splendid. Okay, so I've moved you over to here because as you're looking around, you eventually make your way around to the small knoll-made channel coming from the pond, and as you look over the sort of waterway next to you, you can see the main sort of dirt path here that leads through this ornate gate over a small bridge and up to the temple. And as you look on the other side of it, you can see evidence of a number of footprints in the dirt, which due to the morning dew is still quite damp. As you look at it, it appears as though a regimented group of people marched up to this point, but you don't see any sort of footsteps beyond the bridge.
Not coming into the village.
No, they appear to have stopped just on the other side of the bridge. However, as you're looking around, you actually notice sort of like sank into the dirt and the soil on your side are what appeared to be a number of arrows.
Right.
As though this group marched up to the bridge, fired a load of arrows, and then presumably marched away again. They certainly didn't come over the bridge.
No pillaging.
Not as far
No
as you can see.
killing.
You manage to find one of the arrows and you pick it up and you give it a bit of a smell, and it appears to have the remnants of some sort of oil or something similar on it. Perhaps they fired like burning arrows at the buildings.
Huh. So Kovac, having led men before and knows a bit about this was a disciplined force. Doesn't sound quite like what we're looking for. As far as we know, it was taken by bandits, wasn't it? The sword.
Well, you know it was taken by gnolls, so you may have assumed they were bandits. The vision wasn't all that clear. It's certainly like what you consider to be bandit-like behaviour.
Mm-hmm.
Make me a perception roll.
Okay, I can do that. I definitely see something, John.
Okay, as you're sort of trying to scout around a bit, you basically get like dragged into helping like with the efforts to put out the fires. As like someone hands you a bucket and they're like, "Quick, pour it on that fire there."
Oh, yes, of course, yeah,
and
of course I will.
that distracts you a little bit, so you don't really have much more time to look around. So we're going to jump back. So you guys feel free to move yourselves around as you want. It takes about another sort of 15 minutes or so, and eventually the rest of the fires are brought under control. The woman in red armour sort of turns to you all as you're sort of all stood there. The villagers have decided to go back to their business, and she says, thank you all. This could have been a lot worse without your help."
It's no problem at all. I say, and I'm trying to like play up the fact that I'm pretending to be like a traveling vagrant essentially. Sorry, I couldn't help but notice that is a quite an ornate sword. Is it a family heirloom?
You notice her eyes close a little bit suspiciously as you say that, and she looks down at her sword. Since your attention has been drawn to it and you're all quite close now, any of you who look at it will recognise that this appears to be the same sword from the shrine in the small village of Kashino. She says, "No, it's not a family heirloom. It's just something I need to make sure that this town of the temple can be protected."
Oh, that's good. So I didn't really have time to talk to you before, but you said this village has a problem with Oni?
That's right. For the last week or so, they've been harrying the village. They've never stepped beyond the bridge, but each time they approach, they fire their damn burning arrows into our buildings, and any of the villagers who have been foolish enough to try and flee have been cut down mercilessly. Alas, we didn't have the power to protect the village. After all, most of the villagers have little training in the arts of war, and I am only one person. I did send...
How many? How about the raiding parties?
The last I've heard, like I say, I was not present when it arrived, but I've heard from the villagers that the last party consisted of 10 of their warriors. I did send a runner with a request for help from the local daimyo, but if the runner got through, I don't know, and if he did, no help has appeared. So, and she sort of almost absent-mindedly puts a hand on the blade, so the hilt of this katana that's on her belt, and says, "So I did what I had to do to protect the town of the temple."
Must be some sword if that could make the difference between you and 6 only.
I don't know precisely what abilities he had. One of the older monks in the temple told me that there was a mighty blade in a nearby village that may be able to help save our village. It is particularly effective against these corrupted spirits, or so he told me. It was a slim hope, but it was more hope than we had before.
And how often do you say these only attack?
It has been every evening for the last week. As soon as darkness falls, we hear their infernal marching up to the other side of the bridge, and she points down towards the bridge. They always stop before they reach the gate, though. I believe it is something to do with the power of our temple and the spirit that resides within. But with each of their attacks, they get a little closer to pushing towards the village. The last time they were at the very boundary of the gate, and they were straining as though to walk onto the very bridge before they fell back. I fear that the next time they may arrive, even the power of our God may not be able to keep them out of the village.
Do you know where they come from?
Alas, no, I've not. I've feared to leave the village, aside from when I went to get supplies, lest they attack while I'm not here again, and the place be undefended. After all, these are simple people, and she gestures at some of the peasants who are walking around. They know little in the ways of war. We have religious men and farmers here mainly.
Well,
I myself do not live here. I was simply travelling through when one of these attacks took place, and I thought it was the honourable thing to do to remain here and attempt to help these poor beleaguered people. I had hoped that when I sent a message, the daimyo would have sent reinforcements and we could properly fortify this town, but alas, no reinforcements have been forthcoming.
Interesting. Well, we've been travelling on the road for quite a while, and my companions are quite hungry, and it's hard to find work, but if you need, we may not be skilled warriors, but if you need someone to perhaps scout and figure out where these Oni are coming from.
Anything you could do to help, I would be most grateful, and she bows to all of you.
Yes, all we ask is a simple meal and perhaps shelter.
Very well, please come with me. And she leads you all into the first building of the temple. You can see a number of these simply robed monks have now returned there. They're sat in the main building. They appear to be getting their early morning meal ready. It's a simple meal of fish and rice. Your warrior guide leads you in and says, my friends, these good people are going to help us with our problem, but they've travelled long and they are weary and hungry. I know that you do not have much, but please, I ask you to share what you do have with these people. Which one of the monks stands up and says, yes, of course, it would be an insult to our God not to provide you with hospitality. Please sit down. And rice is ladled out from a small cooking pot into a bowl for each of you, and some small bits of fish are placed on the top, and it is passed to you.
I will let the monks eating with us.
They are indeed.
I will let them eat. I'll let them eat first, since it's this is their home. But the second they do, I go straight in because I'm starving.
As you gesture for them to carry on, one of the monks holds up his hands and says, "Please, no, you are the guests here. Please, you must eat first."
Yeah, thanks.
And I turn to Kovac to explain further that this is a grand temple of a spirit of the hearth, and hospitality is a holy act for these holy men. So you would do well not to turn it down.
You honour us. That's good. I was starving.
The monk smiles at you eating this food and says, "You have a good appetite, my friend. It is. And he stands up and says, we give thanks to Hiyoshi, god of the hearth and home, for this meal and for the company that we have whilst we enjoy it." At which point all the other monks nod and they then start eating their food as well. You notice that Blood Kaitani, the warrior who led you in here, doesn't sit down and eat herself. She appears to be quite restless and is sort of like walking to and fro as this meal was being devoured.
Does she look like she's been neglecting her health?
She does actually look quite thin, and she looks as though she's not eaten a decent meal in like a day or two. She also looks quite tired and quite weary.
Days of travel have made us weary and hungry, but I assume defending the town requires much more effort. You look like you need to eat.
She smiles at you and says, "Yes, you're probably right. I probably should. It's difficult to think about such things though when I know that such foul creatures threaten a good and kind place like this." But she does sit down and accepts one of the bowls of rice and fish and starts to nibble at it. "So tell me," she says, what has brought you all to our village?"
Traveling? We happened to come across here?
Then you've been extremely lucky. The hills around this area, once outside this small oasis of peace and calm, the hills and the woodlands around here are extremely dangerous. There are thieves and bandits roaming these woods.
Oh, you know how it is, John. You're traveling. Thieves and bandits often ignore us because we don't look like we have anything worth taking. I'm really hoping she's buying the whole traveler thing.
Okay.
It sounds like a deception roll.
It does, yeah. I was just about to say that, yeah. It does sound like a deception roll.
Ah, 16. That's not horrible.
Oh yeah, she's buying it big style. She's saying, "Oh, it must have been terrible for you, sort of like wandering the wilderness with no supplies, etc., and never knowing where your next meals come from." She's entirely bought into your story about you just being like random travellers, sort of down on their luck.
While I'm eating my fish, I'm kind of looking at you, kind of like, why is he lying? But I'm not betraying my companions. Like, I've not seen the sword, so I don't know anything. I'm just one.
Well,
sorry. Didn't you say it was like obvious for anyone who looked at it?
Yeah, all of you guys will have noticed the sword.
Alright, because I never went up to it, you see, earlier on. I was wondering about the village, so...
Well, in which case, make me a perception roll now to see if you notice it. No, you've no idea.
Nope.
So that's absolutely grand. You're just like, I don't really know what's going on here, but this food's good.
Yeah.
I'm like contemplating pretending to say that we stumbled across the ruined village to see how she reacts. So it's early morning, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So these only appear at night?
Yes, that's been their pattern so far. And when it reaches dusk and the daylight begins to fade, that's when they approach the town.
So you must have been trying to put out the fires for a while, or their attack just ended when we arrived?
Indeed, their attack finished moments before you arrived. Unfortunately, I did not have a chance to follow the retreating Oni. We were too busy putting out the fires.
Okay.
Do I know
You
if
should
this...
probably...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go ahead.
I was just thinking, since we're talking about Oni, I'm just thinking, is this typical behaviour for them? Would I be aware of that kind of information?
Okay, that sounds like some sort of skill roll to me. What sort of skill are you suggesting? Now, Oni are inherently magical creatures, so you could make a case for using Arcana. If you want to know about previous incidents where Oni have appeared, you could make a suggestion for History.
I think I'd go History. I think my guy would more like he's more into the stories and the battles of the past, so I imagine that he would be thinking, is this the kind of thing that they do, or has this been provoked?
Yep, since Oni are spirits, you could also make a case for religion as well, if you prefer.
I think I'll go with History in this case.
Okay. Oof.
That worked out for me quite well.
Look at that. Okay.
I actually majored in this subject.
My dissertation was Oni and their practices across the land.
You'll probably find that my definition doesn't match up to that precisely, but okay. You know that Oni are corrupted natural and ancestral spirits, normally corrupted by some form of dark, often necromantic magic. It twists their essence and transforms them into these monstrous, almost goblinoid, spirit-like creatures. They then seek to corrupt and taint and control the natural world, basically making everything like a dark reflection of how it is now, so it will be like they are.
And would this, from our stories of the past, is this sprang from a source? You know, is it like a corrupted statue, like as an example, or place that caused these things to sprout up?
Okay, you know there is a legend of a source of power which is known as the Fire of Life, which is the flame of creation, which is believed to be the flame that everything sprung from. However, there are some sort of semi-heretical legends that whisper there is also a dark flame that is its equal and opposite, which is where evil and necromancy, etc., springs from. It is believed that Oni are spirits touched by that dark flame, or those that wield it. And because spirits are creatures of... They embody things, they are a reflection of what they are, they're just pure spirit. When they're touched by this dark flame or these energies, it can corrupt them, turning them into dark, evil reflections of what they are.
Okay. So this was done to them. It could have been quite recently or ages past. There's no way of knowing. Okay.
So I turn to the Noel in red armor and I say, well, if you're the village's only defense, then you should probably eat up and then sleep before... If they attack while you're not rested.
As you're saying that, one of the monks who sat next to you says, Tani, this newcomer is right. You have been looking after us for days. You should rest. Why not go into the main temple and let its soothing aura lift the troubles from your mind for at least a few hours and rest. You'll need your strength when the Oni return. At which point Tani stands up and says, yes, of course, you're probably right. I'll go and rest, and she moves into the main shrine.
Okay. So how many people are here with us? Is it just like us three and a bunch of monks?
Yeah, there are you three and 6 monks sat around in this building, sort of sat around the edge of the building.
So, okay, Anthony and Johannes, which one of you do you think would have given Yif the impression that you were more stealthy?
I'm a literal like shadow warrior assassin type dude. And I'm not particularly like secretive about that.
And I'm essentially
I had the
an
uniform
ox
on.
walking upright.
Yeah, you've no doubt that Sandin Eyes is the more stealthy of the two.
I spent way too long looking at the two of you to try to figure that out.
Yeah, you sort of look across at Sandin Eyes, who's sat there sort of very delicately with his chopsticks, like picking out like a grain of rice at a time and a small bit of fish. Then your eyes pan across to where you've got like Kovac, who's like...
It's like a pig in a trough.
No,
I'm making a mess.
I just imagined Kovac's like that with the bowl above his face, and instead of like a little bit of like rice falling out, the huge like all of it just falls all over his face, and I'm just like,
I go for seconds and thirds if there's not. Requires a lot of a lot of energy.
Yep, you'll certainly be allowed to take more. The monks seem quite willing for you to share what they've got.
I will give them the opportunity. It doesn't have to be now, but I will make sure I'll give them a donation of a gold for the hospitality and to help fund repairs for the village. It's only a small offering, but it's...
The monks smile at you and says, please, if you would go into the main temple and place your offerings at the foot of our sacred hearth fire. We cannot accept money from you directly, but I'm sure Hiyoshi would be grateful for any offering that you would make.
It's tax-free that way. Right? Okay.
He gestures to the ramp going to the main temple.
Kovac, you have such an interest in small gods and how it works, and I'm like clearly looking at you like, play along, please. And why don't
of course,
Sand and Eyes? I like take that gold piece from you, unless you slap me the moment I try.
I will let you.
We all make a donation for each of us. It's we don't have much, but they have offered us hospitality, and they're very kind. Why don't we go and donate? Well, you talk to these nice monks about their religion.
I can do that. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't have to be me, as long as the money is given for their kindness.
Yeah. I like take out like one of my gold pieces and put them in my hand as if like it's another thing. We're all donating like half of our money. Alright, well, go on, Sand and Eyes.
Mm-hmm. So you're heading up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put down my bowl and I like bow to the monks and I follow.
Okay, feel free to move yourselves into the second temple building where Tani is.
Yeah. While this is going on, I'll be talking to the monks about what Ambrose said, but also asking them for descriptions of these Onis, like any kind of useful details, anything distinguishable that could help to attract them or be aware of them.
No problem. They tell you that the Oni, when they appear, they wear the aspect of warriors. They wear armour and carry large blades. Each of them has a sort of turquoise skin and horns, and they have like a demonic visage when they approach, but they march in unison like a disciplined force of warriors.
And that tracks with what I know already.
Indeed, you've certainly seen the tracks of like a unit of warriors all like marching.
Okay, that's cool. I've got like a tiny little stone notebook, like flip one. I'm just calligraphing it in.
Okay, no problems. I'm going to jump to Sandin Eyes and Yith. You've headed up the ramp into the main temple building. You can see that Kai is asleep in the corner of the room. She's taken off her armour. However, you can see where she's lying. She's like holding the samurai sword in its scabbard like against her chest.
It's like, really? I donate the money because I wasn't lying about that.
Okay, as I've described previously, you see sort of raised up on four legs is this metal bowl with this fire burning in it, and next to it is this clay pot holding this crystalline white powder. Bless you.
Alright, sounding nice? We need to take that sword.
With or without? And I make a motion of like cutting a throat.
I was thinking without?
Because it seems like it might be slightly difficult.
Just take our time. I mean, she's in a very deep sleep, considering the amount of exhaustion that she's had.
As the two of you are contemplating this, you hear a as you look across to where the window is at the back of this room, you see what appears to be a large black crow has landed on the lip of the window. And it's looking at you.
Do crows have, like, religious significance?
Not particularly. They're sometimes thought to be birds of ill omen because they're carrion eaters, etc. But they're not a sort of serious... That's just more like a superstition rather than any serious religious indictment against them.
Well,
But not turn out to be a magic crow. That's actually a paladin. It's like, hey, you can't steal.
Well, like some Tenku, like paladin.
Yeah.
so presuming that I attempt to retrieve the sword, and there is a confrontation, what do we do?
See, I would prefer to do this without confrontation. That sort of confrontation, but if necessarily, you might need to. But I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. They are, however noble their intentions were, and however honourable they seem, they are still a thief.
At this point, can you both make me a perception roll?
I'm pretty sure Johannes is frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, you back with us, Johannes?
Oh, I never left you.
Splendid. Okay, the two of you notice that the crow sort of flaps its wings and flies into the room. It appears to be flying straight towards the fire that's burning in the bowl.
It is a paladin. I'm assuming that's unusual crow behaviour.
Well, sort of flying directly into like a burning fire is pretty much unusual for most animals.
I've no... I guess I could. I'm going to make an animal handling check to see if I can sort of, like, shoo it.
Okay, go for it.
So that's an 11.
Okay, you step forward and you know that the main way to sort of like discourage a crow will be to, for like loud noises tend to discourage them.
No.
Okay, it sort of weaves around you and it seems to be flying as though it's going to fly directly into the fire. It's just passing you at the moment, Sand and Eyes. Are you doing anything?
Well, I'm gonna try and snatch it out of the air if it's like going close by.
Okay, make an attack roll.
I'm gonna do it unarmed because that's basically the deal here. Ooh. Yeah.
Okay, you just managed to grab hold of like one of its feet, but it's like
Mhm.
flapping its wings and sort of cawing and struggling to get free. You've only just got like a slight grasp on it. It seems intent on plunging into the fire.
If it begins to make a sound, I will. I just sanitize. I might assume it's like a normal crew. I'm gonna try like grab a hold of like its like body and like try to snap its neck and like at the very least hold its like neck shut so it can't.
That's fine. You don't have to make any roll for that. It's already restrained. You grab it and you snap its neck. At which point, presumably, Sand and Eyes, you like release it and it falls to the ground. As it hits the floor, its form appears to shift and change until you have lying on the floor, just like next to the fire, is what appears to be this hideously malformed, sort of blue-skinned goblinoid creature with these two small horns and its head bent around at an angle.
An Oni.
As you're watching, you can see that its body has already started to sort of like disperse and fade away, as is the manner of spirits when they're killed.
Would knowing about like spirits doing this, do we know if that will leave a trace?
In what sense?
Like, will there be any like residue or something that someone could be, oh, a spirit died here, or is it completely just?
If there was someone who's particularly in tune with the spirit world, they might be able to tell there'd been some sort of spirit activity here, but it'd be very difficult to place exactly what had happened.
Okay. In which case, I just understand eyes and like, okay, that was alarming, but it changes nothing. We need to take the sword.
And as
Are
you're
you
saying
ready?
this, the body fades away and disappears like a mist.
There is another solution here. I think if we were to seek out these, and I point out towards the now dissolved body, so I point at the ground, the floor of the temple. If we were to find the wellspring from whence these creatures come and destroy it somehow, she would probably give us the sword.
Well, my thinking was to do the opposite. Get the sword, give it to the spirit, and then maybe we could ask the spirit to help protect this town now that their town is somewhat abandoned.
I doubt the great hero will be willing to protect a village which is in turn protected by...
But it won't be protected by a thief once she doesn't have her sword.
Regardless, it is largely irrelevant. The sword is here, we know where it is, we can return it at will. I am curious to see, though, where these Oni come from.
Yes, but that is... I don't want to leave these people to their fate, but unfortunately we did accept that job. And we would dishonor ourselves if we didn't do it. The only honorable course of action is to take the sword back to the spirit, save that village, and then deliver the message to the Dynamo about this village needing help.
So, shall I then...
Way... sorry.
No, you go.
That way we manage to do the most amount of good, but we all honor our words.
if we take the sword, would you agree that we seek out the Oni and destroy them with it? It seems to be, at least if we believe this thief, it seems to be a particularly potent weapon against them.
The spirit gave us a time limit, didn't they? I can't remember what that was.
Oh yeah, the duel. Or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget. Was it a day or 2 days? Or it wasn't too long though.
I believe it was 2 days.
Yeah. And we've wasted one because it took us like a day to get here, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. We could take the sword back, then immediately come back here to deal with the Oni problem, and perhaps if there are more people investigating, more people at the village, or if we encounter anyone, we could pay someone to act as a messenger to send for more help, because Oni problem or not, this place needs more defense.
As you're having this discussion, all of you, and that includes you, Kovac, you hear what appears to be the sound of commotion and raised voices outside.
At the sound of any kind of commotion, I'll burst up and head outside, see what the hell's going on. If we're being attacked, I'll protect my colleagues in this temple.
Okay, move yourself outside.
You shall not pass.
Okay, as you run outside, you can see sort of peasants like panicked and running around screaming and shouting. And as you look, they all appear to be looking in the direction of the bridge. As you follow their eye line, you can see this huge figure about the sort of size of an ogre, but with dark blue skin, white eyes and horns. It steps up to the very edge of the bridge, and it appears to be trying to cross it, but it's as though some invisible force is holding it back. It's moving forward slowly, but it's sort of having to struggle. And as it sort of steps onto the bridge, it howls out in a deep voice saying, "Do not think that your petty god will save you for long. When night falls, this town, its temple, and its god is ours."
Well, it's pretty obvious what I've got to do, John.
Run away!
Challenge him to a duel. If you win, he leaves the town.
No, he's an Oni. He's demonic. He's scum. He needs to be destroyed.
We'll challenge him to a duel to the death, and if you win, then all his men have to leave town.
I'm going to raise my glaive in the air and bellow at this creature. You will not win here today, Oni scum. This town is under the protection of Kovac Ashna. And I'll step forward to my death.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So move yourself up to where you're going to be when this takes place.
I'm going to be like here.
I love the way you stood like halfway back in the village, like, yeah, you better not come in the village.
Well, I'm standing there and I'm also ordering the villagers to like take cover, get out the way, like protect your young. There could be more. Get water ready.
Okay, as you're moving forward, this huge creature lifts up a gnarled blue claw, and you can see sort of sparks of light coruscating around its claws. It murmurs something under its breath and then thrusts out its claw in your direction. Can you please make me a wisdom saving throw?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. For a few moments, as it sort of chants and thrusts out its claw towards you. You feel magic attempting to work on you, and you feel your feelings towards this huge creature sort of shifting to a more friendly basis, but then you shrug it off as you manage to power through the attempted effects of the charm spell that it was casting upon you. The Oni, under its breath, retracts its claw and says, strong. Maybe there may be some challenge in this poor village after all, for my warriors.
Hand over the sword and be gone from this place. Or join me in combat.
It looks entirely like bewildered, like it doesn't know what you're talking about. Then it laughs in this deep rumble that echoes throughout this small valley and says, sword? I need no sword to deal with the likes of you. And before we go on further with this conversation, what are Sanding Eyes and Yith doing? You can see sort of Tanny has started to sort of like slowly like wake up. She's like hearing the commotion. She's like, what's going on?
I look at Yith as if to ask, like, are we doing this?
I imagine she wakes up, she's like, what's going on? And like Sanding Eyes is like, oh, it's on.
And she says, now that I have stood up, you cannot coup de grace me. Leaves the room.
I'm using the mechanics to defeat you.
Yeah. I like shake my head and turn to her, and I'm just like, there's a commotion in the village. We came to get you.
For a moment, she puts the sword down on the floor next to her, and she starts like pulling her armor on.
This was mine now.
And she's like, yoink! The sword lies there on the floor next to her while she's pulling this armor on and like fastening it in place.
John, since this is like the holiest of holies here, is there like incense here?
Yeah, there are incense sticks about. There is the white powder. There are candles dotted about.
Yeah.
Some of which seem to be scented with various herbs, etc.
Yeah, I want to grab like a whole bunch of the incense sticks.
Yep.
From here.
That's absolutely
yeah. So I just go yoink and.
Yep, no problems.
Yep.
Okay.
I grab the incense and then I help with the last few bits of the armor. Since we're apparently not murdering this null.
She finishes strapping her arm on with your help, but picks up the sword, fastens it to a belt, and she begins walking back through the temple out of the front door.
Yep. Yep. We're probably flanking her.
Okay, move yourselves to where you want to be.
Oh, God.
And you hear me in the background. Who else could have taken the blade but your corrupted kind?
Yeah, you walk
You have
out.
no place in this world.
You walk out into the middle of this bizarre conversation where Kovac's basically like, I know you took the sword, Oni scum, and this Oni's just like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hey, best
seriously, dude, I'm a demon. I don't.
Yeah, you look at like the giant sort of vicious claws on this thing, and it's quite clear that what it's saying is true. It could probably like eviscerate a human with just its claws, never mind a sword. But it's
Nice.
Occasionally it gives like a little chuckle as you carry on pressing it about a sword. It seems finding the whole thing amusing. And as you're watching Kovac, you can see that as it's sort of laughing, it's slowly moving forward, but each step seems to take it a great deal of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Creature. It's the next to Kovac. Oh, Kovac. Right. You're the leader of the Oni?
The Oni march to my command. They are my warriors.
Okay, well, if we take care of him now, then we challenge you.
Again, it throws
Tell
its
me.
head back and laughs.
Only may not have honor, but surely you are no coward. Or are you afraid of a bunch of insignificant gnolls?
It growls slightly under its breath as you say this and says, I fear no mortal. If you wish me to speak...
Then accept our challenge, or crawl back to your mountain and tell your men of your cowardice.
If you wish me to speed you to your death, small one, then step forward and I will oblige you. And it flaps
I
one
want
of
to-
its huge
Hush,
claws.
not me.
Yes, this creature is a thief.
Yes, go back. You're right. We must destroy this thief. Only
There is no need to sully honor by offering a chance to stay. Cut it down like it deserves.
John,
Yep.
Tony.
I would like to urge Blood Kaitani to go out and face the Oni. Like, if she's hanging back, I want to be at her side, going like, "This is the thing that the sword was made for."
Okay, she marches forward with you at her side, who she's standing next to your companions. She pulls out the sword and brandishes it. As she does, you see the Oni sort of like flinch back a little before regaining its composure. She steps forward holding the sword in front of her as though to like try and ward it off, and she says, I, Kaitani of the Blood Clan, will accept your challenge, creature. And she steps forward towards the Oni. It flexes its claws and rears up to its full ogreish height. Is the intent that you guys are going to sort of stand back while she does this like honourable challenge with this Oni, or?
I want to be close by because I'm going to be on the lookout for an opportunity to pick up the sword and or do some other heinous shit.
Okay.
I'm going to be lurking nearby.
The Oni does a mock bow, although he has a sneer on his face as he does so, and then says, to prove my prowess, I will allow you the first strike. And he sort of like shrugs off his robe so you can see his bare blue-skinned chest. At which point, Kaitani leaps forward, sort of sword held high to swing it, and as she's sort of like plummeting through the air towards him, he just holds up a claw to her, and it's as though she's a marionette that has had its string cut. She just like falls to the ground, unconscious.
I'm going to run and pick up the sword if I can.
Okay, the Oni will have a potential chance to attack you if you're doing that. So I'm going to make its attack against you. What's your AC?
16.
Okay, it swings its claws, but using your prowess, you like slide underneath its blow, and you grab the sword, sort of sliding out the other side to here. The Oni growls in frustration, then it just brings one of its feet down on the head of the unconscious Gnoll in front of it. There's a loud and the blood of Kaitani sprays everywhere.
She did.
Well, she no longer has a head. It's been reduced to like a pulp.
Okay. I was like, you see, Evlo was going to grab the body and pull it back. Was like, too late. I don't know what to say at this point.
Yeah, I think.
Well, you won this round, Ogre. Oni.
As you say that, he turns to look at Sand in Eyes and goes, and since this was an honourable duel, I claim the property of the fallen as my prize, and he extends a large claw out towards you, Sanding Eyes.
We're back.
Well, what's going to happen is, I don't really have time to light the incense for the thing I was going to do, but so I approach with the sword, like doing this thing where I'm going to present it to like just lay it on his, I suppose, gigantic hand.
Indeed.
Yeah, and at the last minute, I want to like flip it and try and chop his fingers off.
Okay, make an attack roll.
What kind of sword is this? Because I might not be very good with it.
It's a standard sword.
Yeah, you would have proficiency.
Okay. Well, is it like a full-length katana or? Yeah, okay, because I'm not very good with those, so it's gonna be like this. No.
That'll do it. Roll your damage.
Does someone have a katana? Like, what's the damage on it?
Would be a D8.
D8.
If it's it's just a long sword, so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, you deliver a vicious strike to the Oni, and as the sword makes contact with its flesh, it seems to sizzle and smoke as you draw the blade across its skin. It lets out a howl and then leaps into the air. As it does so, it transforms into a large black raven and begins to fly away.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna go check on Kaitani and like realize that it's
yeah. There's not enough healing magic in the world.
Yeah. So, are there any villagers around here?
Yeah, there's plenty of villagers stood around, sort of open mouthed, like watching what's been occurring. Obviously, I've not put all the tokens on there because it just fill up the map, but yeah, there's plenty of villagers about.
So,
okay.
All the villagers are like, oh, what are we going to do when the Oni come back? Oh, we're defenseless.
I point to a random villager and just say, can you gather your fastest men?
Yes, of course. And within like a few minutes, like half a dozen of the villagers are gathered. These are our youngest and fastest runners.
Okay. Sand and Eyes, if you give them the sword, they can make haste and just run to the village and return it. Then they can get to the dynamo. Meanwhile, we could stay and defend the town.
But the sword is the best weapon against these.
But there'll be another spirit-related problem if you don't get the sword back in time.
Oh, yeah. What's his face? Yagur. I suppose we could send Yagur back.
That's fine if you want to send Yagur back. That's not a problem.
That was his deal anyway.
Oh, yeah, he'll probably be keen for that. I was going to suggest that, but I didn't know if we wanted to... That was a resource we could use, or...
Yeah, not generally in combat and stuff, but if it's a bit of fetch and carrying, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's like Yagur was the one who like was excited to get with the samurai. So
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. If Yagor goes with them, then they're less likely to be picked off by any of the hazards.
yeah, and Yagur, yeah, he's a safe bet to like make it back to the village because he's a monster.
I agree with this plan. These villagers don't have any reason, they're not honor bound to return it. Unlike Hugo, he would not let it fall from his grasp.
Okay, so are you all planning on sending Yagor back with the sword to the small village?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He takes the sword and sets off at a loping run, and within like 15 minutes, you can see him sort of in the distance, like running back in the direction of Kushino village as fast as his legs will carry him.
I see that you took that blade from the creature. Well done, Sanded Eyes. I knew the thing was deceiving me.
I just like looking at you and like, you saw it. What? Really confused. I admire your commitment to the role, but any deception is no longer necessary. Unkind is dead.
Our dilemma here is that these creatures are strongest at night, but obviously we might not be able to find them during the day when the advantage would be ours. So what do you want to do? Do you want to go out and seek them now, or wait and prepare what little we can?
I would have been keen to go seek them out, but it seems, based on that raven and this larger Oni, it seems like they don't actually have much problem stepping into this village at daytime anymore. So they will just come back to a slaughtered village, potentially. I think we need to stay here and not destroy the source of the Oni. We just need to defend this village until help arrives. Can we say that we sent like the runners, not with Igor if he doesn't need them, send them just straight to the dynamo?
That's absolutely fine. Yep, you've sent the 6 runners off.
I think we need to spend the rest of the day building traps and defenses to protect this town against the Oni.
It would seem, from what I could tell, they could turn into creatures. Maybe you can defenses against. It was a bird, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a large raven.
Yeah.
One of the monks who is stood next to you, Kovac, sort of watching this occur, says, "Only the larger Oni have such evil magics at their command. That this is the first time we have seen such a creature. The warriors are simple, bloodthirsty demons. They do not transform. They simply appear as in the guise of demons wearing armor and wielding huge swords, and those damned bows they carry."
I turn to one of the monks and say, "Do you think you could spiritually reinforce this town's defences against the Oni?"
Well, we could entreat Hiyoshi to protect the village. I mean, as we have been doing, we've been tending the hearth fire and calling on his protection. I believe that's the only thing that's keeping us safe so far. But yes, if that is what you wish, at which point the monk you've been talking to gathers up all the other monks around him and says, "Well, the strangers are right. We must return to the temple. We must pray to Hiyoshi. We must stoke the hearth fire that it may protect us from these vile creatures." At which point all the monks nod and they sort of head back to the temple.
So I assume that we just have like the peasants around us now.
That's correct.
So what does this village produce?
Well, we trade for rice. We're mainly a fishing village. The the pond over there, and he gestures towards it, is but by the blessings of Hiyoshi, is always bountiful in fish and fresh produce.
Okay. So fishing, you have nets and hooks and rope?
Yes, of course.
Can you gather such material for us?
Yes, I suppose so. And he says, Arena, Hanoka, give me a hand gathering up these supplies for our new friends. At which point they basically head off and they come back with a whole load of rope, fishing rods, fishing lines, hooks, etc. And they sort of place them in a big pile in front of you all. Do you think that'll be enough? We've gathered up everything we have.
It shall suffice. Do we have shovels?
Yes, we have some. Like 3 shovels are put on the ground in front of you.
Alright. We need 3 of the strongest men to build a massive pit about the same diameter that net can cover.
Yes. Where would you have us? They're just a little bit stunned with what's going on. But they're like, yes. Where would you have us dig this pit?
Kovac, you were investigating out here. Where do you think the Oni have been amassing?
Well, they seem to have been trying to get across the bridge with not much success. Perhaps slightly out of the village would be useful, if within somewhere central where they congregate, possibly outside the temple. Well, unless they were trying to ambush us.
Hopefully the supernatural defense will hold. You think they've been waiting outside the gate?
Yeah, they seem to not be able to cross the bridge properly, from what I can tell from my investigations before. There's plenty of tracks that lead up to the entrance that seem malformed, but they don't come inside. That's the first one I've seen standing across on this side. Looking at, I'm guessing it left footprints, John. Like it actually left.
Yes.
But why now? What brought it here today?
Well, they've just been doing it for a week. I think we need to get them to build the pit right outside the gate.
What is their end game? What are they trying to corrupt?
The village? The temple?
The shrine. The shrine.
Of course, yes.
Well, even if they can get into the village, getting into the shrine must be much harder for them.
But the scrawny one got in during the day. Perhaps the spirit is failing even now.
Do spirits fail like that, or do we just lose favour with them?
As you're having this conversation, you hear the sound of singing from inside the temple as the monks stoke the hearth fire and begin singing a prayer to Hiyoshi, the small god of the hearth.
If that be the case, I think we should have lines of retreat. What militia we can have that lead back to the temple. That'll be the strongest point of defence if the rest of the village does fall. Obviously that won't happen because we'll take care of things, but in case.
Kovac, do you think you could try search the village with these people for anything that could be used as a weapon?
Sure.
Sand and I probably should have asked you if the trap making. You probably have some expertise in that area.
What exactly are we doing here?
Anything that can help stall the Oni.
I don't know that anything here will, aside from the shrines themselves.
Okay, but failing that, like anything, even something, even if it's a long shot.
I suppose if if the monks were to lead the people in a particularly potent chant, that might be it. Something.
So you
Or
mean more like a ritual out here?
if the people would courageously celebrate their devotion to Yoshi, that might give pause to the Oni for a while. Courage in the
Okay.
face of death is the currency of the spirit world. That is my experience, at least.
Okay. So let's go talk to those monks. Maybe we can get them to lead a massive celebration out here to extend the influence of the small god.
While you do that, I'll search this village for anything that could be used in a more physical manner.
It is a difficult battle with intent to fight, as our enemies are not of the physical realm. You do not trap an Oni, unless you're a priest, I presume.
I'm assuming that the pit that we're digging would at least capture some of the lesser spirits. The larger one, obviously, could easily fly away.
Okay,
Yeah.
so these guys digging the pit, where did you want them to dig it?
Basically right outside the gate. So, hang on, can I? Yeah.
So sort of there-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. They set to digging this large pit outside the gate.
And I used the... okay, they haven't done it yet, so...
What are we doing as well, John? While I'm taking stock of what physical things we could use if it comes to a standoff fight, looking at from what Stan and I said about them getting into the village and them being attacking the week of the week, as you've said as well, I'm looking at like any signs of like corruption, like dead plantation or any kind of corrupted symbols of the shadow flame, seeing if there's something that's been done to weaken the strength of this town's spiritual level, I guess.
Okay, that's fine. So, obviously that's going to be a skill check. Now, since you're looking for sort of signs of spiritual things, I'll say you can use either Arcana or Religion.
Okay, I'm not really magically inclined, guys, so I'm going to go Religion.
Okay.
Fair.
As you're exploring, at first you don't notice anything. And as you're sort of walking back round to return to your colleagues, and you're walking beside the pond, you notice what appear to be a number of dead fish floating on the surface of the water.
I think you just froze there for me, John. Right.
Yeah, as you're walking past the pond, you notice a number of dead fish floating on the water.
Like, are they rotting or are they just dead?
Some of them are rotting. Some of them appear to be more recent.
It's like a stream, I'm guessing. It fills into here from outside the village.
Indeed. You can see the channel flows underneath the bridge and presumably off into the mountains surrounding it, where you would expect the water to come from.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll let my colleagues to this when they get opportunity to come back and explain to them that it seems that the Onis possibly are hiding out in the mountains or doing something nearby, because it looks like the water supply here has been contaminated. Don't drink from it.
Right, so our preparations include the pit, and then talking about if they could organize some sort of like group chant thing around the temple, I presume. And then do we want to do something about the water, like after you bring it up, obviously?
If possible. I don't know what could be done.
Yeah, really. Unless we want to go and track them down, like we could follow where the water comes from upstream, but
it seems like
I
a
think
very
we-
insidious way to corrupt a town, just seeming their nature.
Yeah, so apparently there is corruption in the pond coming from upstream somewhere.
Do we know how much food they have? Like, will it last a few days?
They've certainly, from what you've seen, got enough food supplies to last them for a few days, yeah.
Okay. Standardized. Do you think if we... This is a god of the hearth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if we created a very large hearth in reverence to this soul god, we will extend the influence?
I don't know how that specifically works, but I guess.
While you're having this conversation, obviously with digging the pit and all the stuff that's happened, it's now getting into sort of like mid-afternoon time.
Mm-hmm.
How deep does the pit look at this point?
The pit now is about 10 feet deep.
Okay, that's enough for me. So this is gonna be weird, but I'm gonna ask them to build sort of a larger shallow pit here.
Okay, that's not a problem. They set to building a larger shallow pit.
And then here I will cover it, use the net and hooks to sort of cover the hole with a net. Then I will like slowly sprinkle like dirt on it and try to like pat it down so it looks...
Okay, that is absolutely fine. Make me a survival skill check. Just see how efficient, how well you blend this trap in.
It is perfectly well blended. What do you mean?
Exactly.
Like, this is... Oh my god, like, I'm a cartoon villain. Of like, it's obviously a trap, and like, I'm like, oh, they'll never see. So basically, Yip just believes Sand and Eyes when he tells her that it's possible that a large pit could help, a large hearth could help extend the influence. So, do does everyone know what a hung is? Because I'm just basically trying to build one of those now.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Hungy.
I don't think so.
It's like a Maori thing, but it's like basically a traditional method of cooking food by like heating rocks buried in a pit oven. Yeah. So yeah, I'm basically trying to create a giant one of those.
That's fine. Your shallow pit, it takes a little while. By the time all this is done, it's getting into like just starting to get into early evening. The shallow pit has been dug. You've had no problems finding rocks if you want to like heat rocks to put in there. And the peasants under your direction, Yith, sort of line the inside of this shallow pit with rocks.
Mm-hmm. Again. So Send and Eyes, they just need to basically have a good meal and in order to honor their god.
It would seem to fit whatever else we have seen so far.
Obviously, I don't know if this will do any good. What I'll do at one point is I'll pray in the temple and just obviously offer a prayer to the spirit of the town, the small god, but also to the spirit who saw returning, and pledge him that upon the return of the blade, he will come to this town's aid. If you can hear me, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I'm just
nice. Make me a religion roll.
All right. Okay.
Okay, you offer a prayer to the god of Rasong, and then you likewise offer a prayer to the spirit of Kida Raku, the spectral samurai you faced previously. And as you offer that prayer, you burn some incense, etc. As you finish it, you see that the smoke appears to move a little bit strangely, but then it just carries on up to the ceiling. You're not sure. It could have just been a gust of wind. It could have been something more. You're not sure.
I've done what I can. I'll now use my own strength against these thieves.
Okay, it's just starting to get a little bit dimmer, the light outside now.
Do these villagers have any kind of martial training at all?
No, they are just like farmers.
Okay. No problem. I will advise them if the fighting starts to get to the temple, where that's probably the more secure location.
They seem quite willing to follow your instructions in that matter. When you're like, if you see any giant Onis, get back into the temple, they're like, yeah.
So, but before they breach, just basically engage in this feast. This will cause your god to protect the entire town, and you must show no fear.
Okay, well, one of the villagers says, but if it's going to be a true feast to Hiyoshi, we need to have someone lead the feast if it's going to be a ceremony. And not all of the monks are busy chanting and stoking the hearthfire. Who's going to lead the ceremony? And all eyes sort of turn expectantly to you three.
I look to Senrise and I think he definitely knows stuff about the spirits. And I turn to Kovac and I'm like, oh, but he definitely knows stuff about food.
As you're saying this, in the distance you can hear of marching feet getting louder.
Kovac, why don't you lead this ritual? And the reason why I'm suggesting Kovac is I think he might, I don't know, stroke a more imposing, unique figure to these villagers.
If you believe it'll do some good, and I'm happy to do so, but surely you'll need me for the battle.
Yes, but hopefully, if this works, there won't be much of a battle.
Yes, surely your trap will catch them all. We'll be fine.
As you're saying this, you see a number of turquoise-skinned Oni wearing armour and carrying large blades begin marching towards the village. They skirt round the incredibly obvious pit trap that has been dug in front.
How could they have known?
Devious.
They're too powerful for us. Is there an opportunity for me to try taunt them so they wouldn't notice the obvious trap? Or is that too late?
I'll tell you what, we'll make me a performance roll. Or you can use deception if you wish.
That's my dump stat. Yeah. Okay, you're never gonna use it. I basically just walked to the front of that bridge, and I'm just like, hey, useless Oni, you can't even step into a basic village with no defenses. What kind of pathetic demons are you?
Okay, as you say this, they sort of step backwards a little bit to drop into a fighting stance, and as they do so, two of them fall into your pit. The other three close ranks and prepare to cross the bridge, drawing large swords, two-handed blades that they hold out in front of them.
Oh, large swords. Aren't one-handed swords good enough for you?
They
I
hiss.
continue to taunt them.
They hiss and spit at you, but they don't actually speak anything intelligible. Okay, so Kovac, are you leading this feast? You've got a gaggle of frightened villagers around you, all looking absolutely terrified as these Oni are getting ready to step onto the bridge.
Not one knowing of, not having a massive amount of spiritual knowledge. I guess yes. If asked to do so, it's on my honor. I will.
Okay, so you know that Yith had told you like the important thing was to get these like villagers not to show fear and just to like genuinely celebrate. Now obviously that's going to be quite difficult while they've got a load of Oni breathing down their necks. So I'm going to ask you for a performance roll to see like how much you get them into the spirit of it.
Okay. Do I have anything that can help with this? Probably not. Okay, performance, right?
Yep.
Okay. Holy shiz.
Okay, the Oni start falling onto the bridge, and as they do so, Yith, from behind you, you hear the sounds of laughter and merriment as Kovac somehow is able to get these villagers to forget that they're in mortal danger and gets them to focus on their love of their god, Hiyoshi, and the belief that he will protect them and they should praise all of the good things they have rather than worrying about the evil outside their village. You hear cups being chinked together, food being shared, people laughing and celebrating. Obviously, you're eating and drinking and leading this, Kovac. One of the Oni steps onto the bridge, and then it's as though there's like an invisible wall in front of him. You see him trying to push forward, but he's struggling to move forward. And I'll tell you effectively, I'm going to ask each of you to roll your initiative now.
Okay.
So click on your token to select it, and then click on initiative on your character sheet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember now.
Okay, I'm going to roll for the NPCs. Okay, and I would tell you the way we're going to represent this prayer and this ceremony, keeping them off, is effectively each round they're trying to push onto the bridge. We're going to have you make an opposed sort of performance, where it's going to be your performance versus their intimidation, basically to see whether you're sort of leading the people can outweigh the fear of these creatures. And obviously if you keep winning, the ceremony will keep them back.
I'm going to suggest that what I do then, an old orc kind of battle thing I heard, that they kind of like drum the ground, you know, like beat your feet and tap the table, so I get like a bit of a rhythm going. That's the party.
Okay, splendid. So since the NPCs have done their turn, it comes to Sand Eyes. Sand Eyes, you can see like impossibly Kovac appears to have got the people to at least momentarily forget about these Oni that are threatening them, and whatever he's doing seems to be holding them at the bridge. Although as you look back, you can see that the two who fell into the pit have started to sort of like climb out of the pit using their claws to like scale up the side of it.
Yeah, and I'm genuinely stunned by what's going on, because I was like just cynically just throwing out some stuff like, yeah, well, this is probably what the spirit likes, but I don't know, like whatever. And it turns out it's working. And I'm gonna head towards the bridge, and as I walk there, I've stuck several of the incense sticks like all over my garb.
Yeah, you did indeed.
Yeah, and as I'm walking there, I'm lighting them like one by one. So by the time I reach the bridge, I'm like, I'm trailing incense smoke as if I was on fire.
Okay, no problems. So as you light this incense and this white smoke begins to waft off you, move yourself towards the bridge.
Are we? What's the scale here? Like in like one turn, where do I go?
It's 5 foot per square.
Yeah. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, so Yith, as you're stood there, Sand Eye sort of walks up next to you. He's got these incense sticks like sticking out of his clothing everywhere, and he's trailing this white smoke behind him as he moves. We then move on to Kovac.
And as my thing, just in case the barbecue ritual fails, I'm gonna ready my action. I'm gonna hit anyone who comes within my range with my wakizashi.
Yeah, that is absolutely fine. Okay, so Kovac, keeping the ceremony going, make your performance roll. Okay, and I will roll their intimidation. Okay, you notice a few of the villagers have sort of stopped celebrating effectively. They've seen the Oni climbing out of the pit and they're sort of pointing at them and shouting. As this happens, you notice the first Oni start sort of stepping forward onto the bridge as though he's still struggling to move, but he's like pushing his way through it. We then move on to Yith.
Okay. I know that Yef knows that they are really crap at performance. And basically, that's what I have to do, right? Do a performance check to keep up the morale.
Yeah, if you head to the feast and help with the feast, then yeah.
Oh, okay. I can try an intimidation check on the Onis, or on the sort of on the villagers, and the thing is my intent is to be like, I'm much scarier than the Onis, therefore
okay,
therefore you have nothing to worry about.
If you're going to do that, move yourself near to where the feasting pit is and make your intimidation roll. If it beats the intimidation roll of the Oni, so they rolled a 10, I will say that you've been successful.
Okay. And I have advantage as a null, so yep.
Okay, you point out to the villagers that you're far scarier than the Oni, and they actually seem to take some comfort in that, knowing that you're there to defend them, and they sort of renew their celebrations with vigour. Okay, we're moving on to the NPCs. They are moving forward, but they're struggling. They're moving very slowly as they're struggling against this invisible force. Sand and Eyes, you can see that one of them is sort of like halfway across the bridge, like the one that was at the front, but he's still struggling against this invisible force of belief from the temple.
Yeah. Well, given that apparently whatever they're doing is still working, I'm gonna charge up the bridge, trailing this temple incense smoke, and I'm gonna try and just gut the thing.
Okay, since you're all incensed up with the incense of Hiyoshi, I'm going to give you advantage on the second roll.
Okay, here it goes. So I bring up my wakizashi, and I presume because they're going like, are they going in slow motion? Like,
yeah, they're sort of struggling as though they're sort of like pushing through like water or something. They're really sort of struggling to move forward.
Yeah. So basically, my plan is just like run up the bridge and just like stick it in the gut and like basically just disembowel the first guy.
Go for it. Make your attack roll.
22.
Okay, you've hit. Roll your damage.
6 slashing.
Okay, that is not enough to kill the Oni. However, you have severely wounded it. You don't see any blood coming out of the wound, just like this black smoke. So describe how you make your attack.
So I run up there with the intent to disembowel it, because I don't really know how these spirits made flesh work. So I run up there, I stick my wakizashi in the gut and like make a sizable cut in there, expecting intestines to come spilling out, and instead it's just this black smoke against my white smoke.
Indeed. They seem to mingle together, and it's as though in the air above you, the smoke itself is doing battle. First turning black, then white, and then mingling together in this light grey that rises into the sky. We now move on to... Go ahead.
I'll make an unarmed action as a bonus action due to a thing I have for my class. So I make the cut and realize that, oh, well, it actually works. Like, I pierce the skin and it appears to be hurting. So I'm just going to stick my hand in there and try to grab something and pull it out. Are we still with the advantage?
Yep.
So 21.
Okay, roll your damage.
8.
Okay, you have done enough to kill the Oni. So as you reach in and you attempt to rip out its guts, as you pull your hand out, there's just like wisps of black smoke curling around your fingers. The thing screams loudly in a high-pitched voice, and then its body just seems like a mist dispersing and disappears, just leaving a few last wisps of smoke dissipating around your fist.
Yeah, so I close my fist and then I fix my eyes on the next one and be like, huh?
Okay, so sorry, it should be Kovac now. So Kovac, the celebration is still going on. You can hear the sounds of combat over your shoulder as Sandin Eyes engages the Oni. What are you doing?
So I'm going to try and get the... I'm guessing there's a mixture of food, like dumplings, rice, fish, that kind of thing on the table. So what I'm going to try and do is, in the honor of the spirit, I'm going to try and get them to like do like a bit of an eating competition, like see how many of them can fit like dumplings in their mouth and stuff. Try and get some humour going. Try and get them rousing.
Nice. Make your performance roll, and I'll give you an advantage on that roll.
Yeah, I might need it. Oh,
okay.
Awesome.
I'm going to roll the Oni's intimidation. Okay, remarkably, your idea of getting an eating competition seems to go down really well. Like a particularly fat villager is like, I've got this dumpling eating down. Yeah. Watch me now. And he just starts like cramming him into his mouth, and he's like laughing and talking through like a mouthful of these dumplings. And everyone is like, "Oh, Samo, you could always eat more than 10 villagers put together," and they're like having a laugh and a joke with him. As this is going on, you hear these cheers over your shoulder, Sandin Eyes. You can see that as this sort of laughter and merriment is filling the village, the Oni almost look pained. They have like quite a sort of pained expression on their demonic faces. Mm-hmm. Okay, Yef.
Yef takes a brief pause in awe that successfully partying away the Oni. Did another one come back?
No, there's the two that have climbed up out of the pit, and there's the one. I don't think one's come back.
Yeah, I saw one just like sort of appear. There were 2 fell in the. There were 5 total.
Yeah. For some reason, it hasn't deleted this one. Hold on, there we go.
Alright. So, yeah, I'm gonna move over here. After Sandin Eyes has shown that these things are not as strong as I was worried about, going to attack one.
Okay, you have hit. I presume that rolls for your damage.
Yes, but I spent some psi points. Word class. That's an additional 4, so that's 12 points.
Okay, extra. You've done enough to kill the Oni that you're in front of. Obviously, it will disperse into black smoke, but describe how you launch your attack.
Alright. So I like we're sort of like engaged and like I'm like not really moving, and the moment it tries to strike out at me, I like quickly move forward and like ram my like bow staff like right into its throat, which seems to cause like black smoke to like ooze out all over it as it like dissipates.
Indeed, it looks down in disbelief and opens its mouth as if to scream, and black smoke just issues from its mouth, and its body drifts apart into a cloud of smoke. We now move on to the NPCs. 2 of the remaining Oni push onto the bridges, moving into close range with the 2 of you. So I'm going to make an attack roll for them. Just give me a moment. Okay, so the one that is attacking Sand Eyes attacks with its 2-handed sword.
Yep.
Okay, it does you 6 slashing damage as it steps forward, swings this 2-handed sword down in an arc that slices into your chest. Okay, now the one attacking Yith.
Does not hit.
What's your AC, Yith?
17.
Okay, no problems. It swings its sword at you, but you nimbly dodge out of the way. We now move on to Sandin Eyes.
Right, so there's a swing, and it gets me, and I like push myself because I'm probably by the force because it's a 2-handed sword. The force pushes me back against the railing on the bridge, and I like kick off of it and like fly back as a rebound towards this guy.
Nice.
Fully intent to like just stab it in the face. Let's see how that goes for me. Oh, how's it? 20.
Yep, most definitely hits.
And that's 9.
Okay, so it's not enough to kill it. However, it's enough to seriously wound it.
Right, so what I'm thinking is I kick myself off from the bridge railing, and I fly towards its like upper body. I stick my wakizashi like through its like cheek, like, and then I'm gonna try and like pluck out its eye with my bonus action here. How's 25?
That'll do it.
So 5 extra.
Okay, you have killed it. So describe how that goes down.
Yeah, so I stick my wakizashi in its face. I hang on there just long enough to like reach in, pluck out its eyes, both of them actually, with that kind of damage, and just like fall back off the corpse.
You fall backwards as its body begins to disperse into smoke. The eyes likewise turn into smoke that drifts up out of your hand. Okay, we move on to Kovac. Kovac, everyone's loving your party. The eating contest is going down great. What are you doing?
I'm going to switch tactics for a second. So obviously everyone's engorged in food at the moment, so they need to like work up their appetite again more. So I'm going to try and get them to participate in a bit of old-fashioned limbo using my lance as like the pole. They're going to like, how low can you go, and get them to like have a bit of a.
Okay, go for it. Make your performance roll. No advantage this time.
I don't know how this is working.
Okay, let me roll that intimidation. Okay, yeah. You almost can't believe it, Yith, as you sort of like risk a glance over your shoulder, and you see that Kovac appears to have like set up a sort of pole, and he's encouraging all of the villagers to limbo under it. You see Samo, the large sort of fat gentleman, try and go under it, and he like knocks the pole over with his prodigious gut, at which point several of the villagers like fall around like laughing, and he stands up and he's like, wow, this sort of thing's not really my style of expertise, is it? Give me some dumplings any day of the week. And he has a bit of a laugh and joke with them, and everyone seems to be enjoying the celebrations.
Every now and again, I glance back and see what's going on over at the bridge. I'm like, whoa.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I am going to attack this thing, spending 1 side point. I assume that that's so that's 6 damage.
Okay, it's not enough to kill the creature.
So again, like typical fighting style, I wait for it to make a move, and I sort of like knock its weapon out of the way and like bruise its like shoulder, but instead of like a bruise, just like a circle on it. The only skin seems to like burn like smoke out.
Indeed, as both yourself and Sand and Eyes have been engaging them, now you're closer up, you can see that although initially it appears that they were first wearing sort of like plated armour, now you've actually been injuring them. You can see that the armour actually appears to be part of them rather than like clothing that they're wearing. It's just like their body. It's like the armour plating. The Oni you're fighting howls as this sort of smoky mark appears on it, and then he attempts to return an attack, swinging his two-handed sword at you, Yith.
Is that an... Oh, that's a nat 20? Sorry, no, it still misses me.
What's your AC?
No, that's a nat 20, it hit.
Oh, right, okay. You take 14 slashing damage. As it swings its double-handed sword, slicing into you.
I hate to say this, but don't you need to roll another damage dice since it crit?
Normally it would be, however, for reasons I'm not going to go into, I'm sure you can guess at, these Oni are slightly weakened at the moment. They're not fighting at their full efficiency.
Okay. I'm dead anyway.
What is that taking you down to?
-2.
Okay, so you're not actually dead yet, but you are unconscious. So,
yeah.
Sanding Eyes, you see this Oni step up, it swings its double-handed sword, trailing thick, oily smoke behind it. And it actually doesn't actually appear to touch Yith, it appears to actually just slice slightly above his head, but it's as though it had hit him, and although he doesn't have any wounds on him, he topples to the ground unconscious. Okay, and then I'm going to do the one attacking yourself.
Yeah.
You take 7 slashing damage.
Yeah. So the valiant defenders at the bridge fall, even though the dumpling support was strong. That takes me down to -3.
Okay, so we move on to Sanding Eyes now. Sanding Eyes, you need to make a death save, so roll that.
Is there a button for that on the sheet?
I don't think there is.
Oh, there is. Maybe. I'll test it. Oh, yeah. Apparently there is.
Apparently it doesn't work. Roll again.
Huh. Okay. So it's just a D20? Or...
No.
I
It did work. I was just...
Okay.
Okay, so you're fine. You're not. I'm going to check this just to make sure I'm getting it right. 'Cause it's been a while since I've done one of these. And obviously, it's quite important. So.
Yeah, we need to get 3 failed death saves to...
Indeed. I just want to double check it to make sure I'm doing it right. Because obviously, the fate of your characters effectively hangs in the balance here. So just give me a moment. Death saves. There we go.
What are you looking...
I'm just checking the death saves. Okay, so if the roll is a 10 or a higher, you succeed on a d20. So, Sand and Eyes, you have failed one death save. So mark that on your character sheet. Obviously, 3 failed means you died. Okay, we move on to Kovac. Kovac, you hear the sound of fighting stopping at the bridge. You look across and see both of your companions lying on the floor with these Oni advancing on them, lifting these double-handed swords above their heads. But do you risk leaving the scenes of celebration? How will the dumpling eating contest take place without you, Kovac?
On my honour, I cannot leave my companions to that fate, so I will slap the back of the big one and tell him to sing a tale, the greatest tale of the spirit, and I will charge into battle.
As you charge forward, you hear Samo behind you saying, "Let me tell you the tale of the great dumpling god." Feel free to move yourself.
Okay, so I'm just I couldn't remember how much movement I've actually got in as an 30, right? Can I actually get there in time? Okay, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? So I can get to Sand and Eyes. Okay. What I'm going to do then, as I approach, I'm going to draw one of my hand axes and fling it at the weakest looking Oni, because I won't be able to get to them.
Okay, go for it. Make your attack roll.
Okay. Yep.
The weakest looking Oni is this one here.
Okay. Let's see, he's taking some damage. Nope.
Okay.
All that dumplings really slowed me down.
Indeed. You hurl your hand axe, it spins through the air. The Oni moves to one side and it whistles past it. Okay, Yef, you need to make yourself a death save. Okay, so you have succeeded. Okay, so mark down that you've got 1 success. If you get 3 successes before you get 3 fails, you've stabilized. Okay, so we move on to the NPCs. Now, luckily for you guys, the 2 that we're going to finish you off have now see Kovac as a greater threat. They move across the bridge, ready to engage you, Kovac, and they're going to attack you.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one hits. You've taken 17 points of slashing damage.
I've got 13 hit points, so I am unconscious. I am unconscious, John.
Okay, so I'm afraid, guys, with no one left to defend the town, seeing you guys having fallen, the villagers scatter. The party have been forgotten. The dumplings have gone stale as they begin scattering and screaming. The last thing you hear as you fall to the ground to this blade, Kovac, is the screaming of the villagers and the laughter of these Oni filling your ears. You're about to ask me something, Ambrose.
Oh, no, I thought you were just ending the thing. I was like, no, there's still a chance that we might roll a 20 on our saves and get up, or something might happen.
Okay, well, realistically, you guys have got like 1 more chance each to roll a 20 before these Oni will finish you off. So, if each of you would like to make a death save.
Sorry, John, wait 1 second. I have the half-orc thing, don't I? I forgot about it.
Oh, you do? That means you can just like go, oh, actually, I'm on 1 hit point.
I'm going to go to 1 hit point.
Okay, so as you fall down and the Oni's like, you've been defeated, you basically sort of like, you basically block it and you down on your knees, you feel your strength ebbing away, but you are still moving. So, Kovac, what are you going to do? Oh, sorry, Sand and Eyes, make your death save first.
So here's for
one more attack.
Okay, so you've got 1 successful save. Okay, Kovac, these 2 Oni are bearing down on you. You can feel your life force ebbing away. You look across, you can see just behind them your 2 unconscious and injured fellows.
I'm not going to go down like a bitch, so I'm gonna shout to the spirit to aid me if you can hear, and I'm just going to attack with my glaive. That's the only thing I can do. It's just go down fighting.
Make me a religion roll, and since you prayed to the spirit and made a big offering earlier, I will give you advantage, but I'll tell you you're going to need like a hefty roll to get that spirit to intercede.
Okay.
Alas, that unfortunately is not enough.
Okay. I'm going in with the glaive then. Boop.
It hits. Roll your damage. Okay, that is enough to finish off the most injured of the Oni. And he dissipates into black smoke. However, it still leaves one of them to contend with and another on the other side of the bridge. Yeth, make your death save.
Oh, one fail.
Okay, so we come on to the NPCs. So this Oni is going to attack you,
Obviously.
Kovac. This could be it. This could be the final killing blow.
My AC is 17.
Okay. It swings its sword down at you. You step to one side and the sword sinks into the ground. Okay, Sandin Eyes, make your death save. Okay, you have another successful save.
Yep. 2.
Okay, Kovac, it could all be down to you, baby.
I'll also beseech the spirit of this town to lend me strength. I'm just clutching, you know.
Okay, make your attack roll on the Oni.
Okay. Right.
You've hit. Roll your damage.
It hits.
Okay, that is enough to kill the other Oni, so describe how you take it down.
So yeah, the other one drives me to the first one drove me to the ground. I sort of had it, and I managed to like pierce it with my glaive. The second one comes in. As it comes up, I step up, swing it round so the blade's pointing like upwards, and swing it through its jaw, cutting it, dissipating it as I get up, and then I fling it back around.
You cut its head virtually in two, and it dissipates in a cloud of foul-smelling smoke. However, there is still one Oni who is just stepping onto the bridge.
I'm going to bellow at him. I'm going to try and make him run away. Cause I'm just like, I've just taken down 2 in a second. Come on.
I'll give you that. Make an intimidation roll versus his intimidation.
Alright, let's go. Boom.
Okay. You describe what you shout out at the remaining Oni.
I say, you are a condemned spirit. I have the light of the I can't remember what the spirit's called at the top of my head. Hiyoshi. She is with me now. She stands with me as I cut down your fellows. Run or be destroyed.
Okay, the Oni is about to take a step onto the bridge when it looks at you covered in blood and wounds, the white smoke drifting up from the incense sticks still poking out of Sandin Eyes, and then it just dissipates into black smoke, leaving you alone, the only person still conscious on the bridge.
I am going to quickly turn to Sandin Eyes and Yith in that order, and I'm going to take a little bit of the wine, you know, the wine that I've been drinking, the beer and stuff, and like try and pour. It's not a potion, but I'm hoping the feast, somehow the spirit of this feast will help with this medicine. I'm trying to like resuscitate them.
Okay, can you please make me a medicine roll, first of all, for Sandin Eyes?
Wake up! The party's started. Medicine. Okay.
Okay.
No way.
Miraculously, with this wine, you're able to stabilise Sandin Eyes and restore him to 1 hit point. Sandin Eyes, as you fell, you were pretty much expecting that was it. You were ready to go to the halls of your ancestors when you wake up to find yourself alone, lying on the bridge with like Kovac sort of like pouring a little bit of this rice wine into your mouth and sort of telling you to wake up.
Yeah, so I'm just sputtering and coughing and twitching, but alive.
Quickly, help me. Our friend Yith is down as well. He's only have poisoned him.
Okay, so probably just crawl my way well, Yith is on the bridge with me, so
Mm-hmm.
basically just crawl over there and I have a herbalism kit thing, I think. Yeah, I do.
Quickly.
Is that something I can use to
Yeah, it would give you
help?
like, your proficiency bonus with medicine.
Yeah.
So make a medicine roll.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll possum this one on his wound as well, try and... No way.
Okay, miraculously between like between Sand and I's know-how and your potent rice wine, Kovac, you're able to restore Yith to consciousness and 1 hit point.
Truly, the spirits walk among us today.
I feel like a spirit. So, is this the raiding party?
Dumplings?
I grab a handful of dumplings and eat them. This is not at all how you should eat dumplings, but still. I'm just like, is that everyone for tonight? Have we protected the town for just one day?
As you're saying this, you look into the distance and you can just see the sun is just starting to rise over the horizon, warm light beginning to filter out over the landscape. You see the villagers start to come out of their houses. They start cheering you, and they basically surround you, picking up Sand and Eyes and Yith, because obviously you're struggling to walk in your current states, and they start conveying you back to the temple. And as you're taken into the temple and you're ministered to by the monks there, and Kovac's being like slapped on the back by all the villagers who are like saying, "Oh, it was the best feast ceremony we've ever had." In fact, Samo, the larger fellow, the dumpling eater, steps over to you and he shakes you warmly by the hand and he says, "That they're right. That was the best feast ceremony we've ever had. Have you ever considered settling down anywhere, my friend?"
You honor me with your prayers, friends, but I have a mission. I have things I must do.
At which point he literally sort of like drops to his knees in front of you and he takes
My lord.
your hand in like his sort of pudgy hands and he says, "But this village could be so great. We could prosper so greatly with such staunch defenders yourself. Please, won't you say you will stay and lead our feasts in future?"
I may in time come back and lead you in a grand feast once more, but like I said, we came here with purpose, and I must leave with purpose.
And as you're led to the temple by Samo Kovac to see how your friends are doing, the end credit music begins to play, and that is where we are going to draw a close to this evening's session. Thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it.
It was incredible.
Yeah. That was something.
Okay, so I've very much enjoyed running that. Thank you very much, guys. I'm happy to chat as ever for a while afterwards, but for now I'm going to end the recording. That was the second session of our Empire of the Hyena game. To anyone who's watching, thank you very much for joining us, and we hope we'll see you in the next session. Take care.
Thank you very much for running it, John.
No problems.